afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV, and we are here to bring you some breaking news about social media. The country of Brazil, with over 200 million people there, has now banned X, which is formerly known as Twitter, X, the social media platform X. A number of you use X. I use X. A lot of people in Brazil use the X. Well, it has now been banned, at least temporarily, in Brazil. You could also say it's been suspended in Brazil. How long it will be gone for, I don't know. I have no idea. This comes after a running dispute in Brazil between the Supreme Court, a Supreme Court justice, and basically the Brazilian government, and Elon Musk-owned X, where Brazil has wanted X to take down some accounts, and X has not wanted to do that. Elon Musk has not wanted to do that. And then this whole latest thing is, I guess, technically because X does not have a representative in the country, which Brazil requires. So anyways, we'll get into all the details here. But basically, you have the Brazilian government requesting that X does do things that X does not want to do. And that has resulted in the Brazilian Supreme Court, a Brazilian Supreme Court justice today ordered, a Brazilian Supreme Court justice today ordered that X is not going to be working in Brazil. Not going to work in Brazil. Also, I've seen reported that, yes, also, people will be subject to fines. People will be subject to fines of about almost $9,000 a day, US, if they try to use X in some kind of sneaky way, like using a VPN. So not only is X shut down, but if you try to get around the ban in Brazil and use some kind of technology to keep using X, you are subject to a daily fine of about $9,000 per day. So we're going to get into this. Going to give you some updates and take some comments from you guys here. You can write to me during the broadcast at @Lookner on X. Now, if you're in Brazil, you might have to write to me a different way. Maybe you'll have to post in the chat. You can always use agendafreetv@gmail.com to write to me. Or you could post in the chat. I don't know. The order was it for it to stop working. I don't know how long it takes for it to stop working in Brazil. I got to see if I can find out something about that. Thank you, by the way, to our new members, JRow49 and Kender. Also, thanks so much, Carrie Poteet, for giving some gift memberships out. That's very nice of you. And our members, Strange Reverend and Flavio Virginelli. Flavio mentioned that, yes, you are not allowed to use VPNs to access X in some sneaky way in Brazil. So Andrew Wilkinson says, I am traveling to Brazil in October. This is convenient. Like, that's a fair point. Like, if I am not planning on going to Brazil. I'd love to visit there someday. But if I or you were to visit there, I couldn't use X because it's not working in the country. Or it's not going to be working in the country. Okay, so Nigel Crane says there's an NFL game coming up in Brazil. Is that true? I don't want to take too much time and look that up. But let me take 5 seconds looking up. Maybe people would post about that. Yes, in week 1, there will be a game in Brazil between the Packers and Eagles. How about that? I didn't realize that. Okay. All right. So let's get into this and talk about this. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is this is literally the page from the Brazilian Supreme Court right here. Oh, let me thank our moderators first. That is a translation. That is the Brazilian Supreme Court, the STF, Supremo Tribunal Federal. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Supremo Tribunal Federal. That's their page. And it's just been put through a translator. So this is their announcement. I'm going to read it to you. But let me just thank our moderators first. I really appreciate our moderators being here. We have Sarah55 moderating. Thank you, Sarah. RJ is moderating. They're on YouTube. Really appreciate it. We also have Linda Belk and Larry moderating on X. And Sabrina is moderating. Thank you, Sabrina. Also, I want to give a shout out to our Twitch moderators. We have over there moderating Papa Bear and Idaho Star. And thanks so much, Gonzalez, for your support. I missed you. Thanks for subscribing. I think you subscribed, or you resubscribed yesterday, I think, Gonzalez. Thanks, Gonzalez, for all your support on Twitch. And thanks to Callwit9 for your support on Twitch as well. See, I checked. I didn't delay the thank yous on Twitch today. I did better today. And I want to thank our Facebook moderators as well. Really appreciate them. Over there we have, moderating on Facebook, we have Kay Lowry Body is there. And Bud Green is there. Thank you. I know Kay is following the story. She messaged me about it, alerted me to it right when it happened. Thanks, Kay. Ronald Egnor as well. Okay, so this is the announcement from the Supreme Court of Brazil. And we're going to give you a background on all this too. So, STF, Supreme Court of Brazil, orders suspension of X, formerly Twitter, throughout the national territory. The measure adopted by Minister the Justice Alexander de Moraes, I'll say Moraes, is valid until the company complies with court decisions and pays the fines set. Supreme Court Justice Alexander de Moraes of the Supreme Court in Brazil ordered this Friday, the 30th, today, the immediate and complete suspension of the operation of X, formerly Twitter, throughout the national territory until the Supreme Court's judicial decisions are complied with and the fines imposed are paid. The order will be valid until the appointment of a company representative in the country. So technically speaking, the reason for the suspension is that X does not have a representative in Brazil, which they're required to have by Brazil. But it's more than that. This is the latest step in this ongoing feud where Brazil has wanted to X to do certain things and Brazil has not wanted to do them. Specifically, I know that Brazil has wanted X to remove certain accounts, and X did not want to remove those accounts. According to the decision, the president of the National Telecommunications Agency, Carlos Manuel Bajori, I don't know, it's Portuguese, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think it's Portuguese, if it's Brazil. Carlos Manuel Bajori must take all measures to guarantee the suspension. The reporter, I don't know what this is, maybe a weird translation here. Reporter, person appointed by an organization to report on the proceedings of its meetings. Anyways, I'm a little confused. That might be a bad translation. But, getting back to that here. But the reporter also called on Apple and Google to take measures to block the use of the application on iOS and Android systems, in addition to removing it from their online stores. So this is just talking about how they're talking to various people and companies to make sure it's not available anywhere, on phones, on PCs, on anywhere. According to the minister, the Brazilian Supreme Court made every possible effort and provided every opportunity for Brazil to comply with court orders and pay the fines, which would avoid the adoption of this more serious measure. Regrettably, this is a quote from the Supreme Court Justice. Here's a quote. The Supreme Court Justice who ordered this says, regrettably, the illicit, that would be unlawful conducts, were reiterated in this investigation, making clear the non-compliance of X with several court orders, as well as the intentional the intention of exempting itself from responsibility for compliance with the court orders issued. With the disappearance of X's representatives' legal documents in Brazil for subpoena purposes, and later with the aforementioned message about the possible closure of the Brazilian company, he stated. The decision, look it down here. The last line says, the decision also sets a daily fine of 50,000 Brazilian real, which is about 9,000 US dollars. A daily fine of around 9,000 US dollars for people and companies that use, quote, technological subterfuge to maintain the use of X without prejudice to other civil and criminal sanctions. So I think subterfuge means like deception. Yeah, deceit, according to Google. All right, so they have, that's that, and they say read the full decision. I haven't even looked at that. Is that a PDF? Is that a website? I'm not going to go through all this. If you want to look at it, there's a whole decision. And also, I can't like use a translator on this very easily. It's a PDF. Is it a PDF? Looks like it. Anyways, I'm going to post a link to the decision for those of you who read Portuguese. I just posted it. I'm going to, now to simplify things, I'm going to show you a couple articles about this. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Maybe get things a little simpler for you. Here. Judge orders Musk's X immediately shut down in Brazil. This is from Reuters. Oh, one of our viewers, B. Escobar, says you could use ChatGPT to translate a PDF. That's interesting. Maybe I'll do that later. It's a long, I'm not going to go through the actual decision right now. Thank you, by the way, to Pickled Witch, who thinks this is becoming a disturbing trend. I really appreciate your support. Pickled Witch. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I'll give you a short, this is a short summary here from Reuters. Basically, Brazil has wanted X to do certain things like remove users that X has not wanted to do. Okay, yes, X is widely used in Brazil. Over 200 million people there. A Brazilian Supreme Court justice ordered on Friday, today, the immediate suspension of social media platform X in the country after a court-imposed deadline expired for the country to identify a legal representative in Brazil. The move is the latest chapter in an ongoing feud between Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexander de Moraes and Elon Musk, which also included the freezing of the satellite internet provider Starlink's financial accounts in Brazil. Elon Musk also owns Starlink, I believe. Let me just make sure about that before I steer you wrong. Starlink is operated by SpaceX. SpaceX is CEO, chair, and CTO of SpaceX. Elon Musk is the owner of SpaceX. Okay, anyways. In the decision, the Supreme Court Justice Moraes ordered the full and immediate suspension of X in the country until all related court orders on X were complied with, including the payment of fines amounting to 3.28 million US dollars and the nomination of a legal representative in Brazil. Moraes ordered telecommunications regulator Anatel to implement the suspension order and to confirm to the court within 24 hours it has carried it out. So the telecommunications regulator in Brazil is supposed to confirm within 24 hours that X can no longer be used in Brazil. In a bid to avoid the use of VPNs, virtual private networks, to circumvent the blockage, Moraes said individuals or companies who tried to keep access to the social network that way could be fined up to 50,000 reais. Is it reals? What is the plural of Brazilian real? A plural is reais. Reais. Okay. So you can get fined up to 50,000 reais a day, which is about 9,000 US dollars. That's about 9,000 US dollars a day if you try to circumvent the X blockage. Now, here's a little background here. First of all, it says earlier this year, the Supreme Court Justice Moraes ordered X to block certain accounts implicated in probes of so-called digital militias accused of spreading distorted news and hate. Elon Musk, denouncing that order as censorship, responded by closing X's office in Brazil. X's office is in Brazil. X, formerly known as Twitter, said at the time that its services would still be available in Brazil. Amid the underlying feud over X, Brazil's Supreme Court also blocked the local bank accounts of the Starlink satellite internet firm, which is 40% owned by Musk. Okay, he owns 40% of Starlink, and leading the company on Friday to ask the court to suspend that decision. Also, X said late on Thursday it expected Supreme Court Justice Moraes to order a shutdown soon after a court-imposed deadline expired for the company to identify a legal representative in Brazil. So again, this is important here. Earlier this year, the same Supreme Court Justice ordered X to block certain accounts implicated in probes of so-called digital militias accused of spreading distorted news and hate on X. And Musk, denouncing the order as censorship, responded by closing the platform's offices in Brazil. Formerly known as Twitter, said at the time its services would still be available in Brazil. I'm going to show you what X released a statement about this yesterday. I should show you that too. I'm going to show you some more. I'm going to take some comments here too. Here is what X said yesterday. This is X Global Government Affairs. This is X's side of the story, right? So this is their side of the story. They posted this last night. They said, soon we expect Judge Alexander de Moraes will order X to be shut down in Brazil simply because we would not comply with his illegal orders to censor his political opponents. These enemies include a duly elected senator and a 16-year-old girl, among others. X also says, when we attempted to defend ourselves in court, Judge de Moraes threatened our Brazilian legal representative with imprisonment. Even after she resigned, he froze all of her bank accounts. Our challenges against his manifestly illegal actions were either dismissed or ignored. Judge de Moraes' colleagues on the Supreme Court are either unwilling or unable to stand up to him. We are absolutely not insisting that other countries have the same free speech laws as the United States. The fundamental issue at stake here, says X, is that Judge de Moraes demands we break Brazil's own laws. We simply won't do that. I don't know the specifics here about the Brazil laws and everything like that. In the days to come, we will publish all of Judge de Moraes' illegal, they say, demands and all related court filings in the interest of transparency. Unlike other social media and technology platforms, we will not comply in secret with illegal orders. They keep saying the orders are illegal. I'll have to see if I can find a more detailed explanation of that position. To our users in Brazil and around the world, X remains committed to protecting your freedom of speech. All right, let me take some comments from you guys. There is a picture of the judge from Associated Press, Alexander de Moraes, Brazilian Supreme Court Chief Justice. They also have a picture of Elon Musk posted too. There's Elon Musk. Okay, so, wow. So people in Brazil, I don't know if it's been shut off there yet. Maybe some of our viewers are in Brazil and can say if it's working there yet. I don't know if it's working there still yet or not. I'll have to, I'm not in Brazil. Let me see here. Jenna Ferrari Maggio, who is watching this on X, says, when I land in Brazil, are we warned to not go on X? Is the ban only for Brazilians? Oh, the ban seems to be for the whole country. It's throughout the national territory. So it's it's within the country, geographically speaking. It's not Brazilian people. It's everybody, according to the Supreme Court page, throughout the national territory. Now, it's a good question. I don't know. Let's suppose there are people flying to Brazil right now. I'm guessing there might be. On the plane, will they be told, oh, by the way, there's this new ban on X in Brazil? But I mean, if you just fly into Brazil and you try to go on X on your phone and you're using a Brazilian phone carrier, I assume it just won't work. What you'd have to do to access it is try to use a VPN or something. And at that point, you are subject to a fine of almost $9,000 a day. So I don't know what, for example, airlines might or might not say to people. Daniel thinks it will probably take days. Well, actually, Daniel, in the on the page of the Supreme Court, it does say that didn't it say something about 24 hours here? Where is it here? I thought there was something about, we just read something about 24 hours. Let's see. Where did I read that? Where did I read that? Was it in the Reuters article? Yes, right here. Reuters article. The Supreme Court justice ordered telecommunications regulator Anatel to implement the suspension order and to confirm to the court within 24 hours that it has carried it out. Turned Off thinks the NFL should cancel the Brazil game. I can't imagine a world in which the NFL cancels their Week 1 game in Brazil over X getting banned in Brazil temporarily. Can't imagine it. T-Wiki thinks it can be done immediately if they want. This I don't know. I'll have to try to get you more information on that. Shilbert says some people have a VPN running on their phone at all times. Tony C says, I am in Brazil and use VPN to use Twitter. Doesn't affect me here. Well, it could affect you there, because using a VPN to access Twitter, X, after today will be subject to a fine of almost $9,000 a day. TK wants to know exactly how this is implemented. That I can't tell you. I'll try to find something on that. Dis says, maybe you need to take a trip to Brazil and report back. I would like to go to Brazil. Oh, Latu says, if you have a VPN, you could change it to Brazil and see if X is still working. Hey, that's interesting. Retro Replay says they're going to do that too. I don't know if any of there might be some of our viewers who have VPNs who can set it to make it look like they're in Brazil and then see if they can still access X there. It's a good point. But it is popular in Brazil. Robin Mattingly says, this is wild. Eatbite says, let me try. So maybe some of our viewers will try. Uber Gringo says it is working at the moment. One of our viewers said, I'm in Brazil. Yusim said, I'm in Brazil and it is still working for me. Francisco Fernandez, our viewer, says, still working, but some providers are already blocking it. Moises Ferreira says, still working. I'm assuming these people saying these things are actually in Brazil. I know we have some viewers in Brazil. Or maybe they know people in Brazil. Let's read a little more about this here. Marcio Luis Oliveira says it's still working. Albatross Animation says, I just can't see this ban effected. Well, it's been ordered to come into effect. All right, let's read something else about it. Oh, let me show you. Elon Musk has been posting some stuff about this. As you can imagine, Elon Musk is not happy about this. Oops. Let me show you a couple things here from Elon Musk, what he has to say. By the way, yesterday, Elon Musk said that the Supreme Court justice responsible for this is an evil dictator cosplaying as a judge. Like wearing a judge robe as a costume. That's what Elon Musk said. That's his pinned post. He says, so Elon Musk has posted several things in the last hour or so. He said they're shutting down the #1 source of truth in Brazil. He said, censorship is a certainty if Dems win. Well, that seems like it's different, though. It's not really about this specifically. Oh, no, because it's a little, I don't want to get into all this, but let's just go further. He said, the oppressive regime in Brazil is so afraid of the people learning the truth that they will bankrupt anyone who tries. In reference to the fact that that people trying to use a VPN, for example, to access X, people who try to evade the ban in Brazil to access X through technological subterfuge, as it is called, are subject to fines of up to a fine of around $9,000 a day. He also said, Elon Musk, in the last hour, the attacks this year on free speech are unprecedented in the 21st century. It will happen in America too if Kamala and Walz gain power. Just listen to what they have said. He said, free speech is the bedrock of democracy, and an unelected pseudo-judge in Brazil is destroying it for political purposes. All of these posts are from within the last hour. Anyways, so those are some of the recent posts from Elon Musk about this. Our viewer Cityware says, X is still working on my Brazil VPN. Brolos5 says, I am VPNing from Brazil and X is working. I think Brolos means I am setting my VPN to surf the internet as if I were physically in Brazil, I believe. Hey, thanks so much to Anonymous Nobody. Anonymous Nobody says Article 5 of the Brazilian Constitution of 1988 explicitly guarantees the right to free speech. It states the expression of thought is free and anonymity is forbidden. Look, I am not a constitutional scholar. I am especially not a Brazilian constitutional law scholar, so I am not going to attempt to offer analysis of Brazilian law and the Brazilian Constitution, but I appreciate Anonymous Nobody writing in. And thank you so much, Anonymous Nobody, for your support. Also, thank you to Genghis Khan for your support. Genghis Khan says this is not the first time he has tried to ban X. This same judge has also tried to ban Telegram in Brazil. One of the articles I was reading talked about other social media platforms in Brazil and bans. Let me get to that. Thank you, Genghis Khan, who is watching and supporting from Brazil. Okay, so let's talk a little more about this. Again, X is also, it's formerly known as Twitter, very popular social media app around the world. I use it a lot. A lot of you use it a lot. A lot of people in Brazil use it. It's very popular in Brazil. And there has been this ongoing feud between the authorities in Brazil and X. One thing is that the authorities in Brazil have wanted X to ban certain users, which X has refused to do. X owned by Elon Musk. And today what has happened is a judge has ordered X shut down within 24 hours in Brazil, technically speaking, because I guess X owes some fines, and also because X does not currently have a legal representative in Brazil. But this is part of an ongoing dispute/feud between them. Thank you also to Peep TB God for your support. Now, our viewer Peep TB God is not supportive of Elon Musk. Thinks Elon Musk is a threat to the world. We have some different opinions about Elon Musk and Brazil and X and the Brazilian Supreme Court in our chat. I appreciate your support. I know we have a number of Elon Musk fans in our chat as well. Thank you, Peep TV God, and also thank you to our member Patches. I appreciate that. All right, let's get some specifics here, and then I'll take some more comments from you. Let's get some specifics from Associated Press. A Brazilian Supreme Court justice today ordered the suspension of Elon Musk's social media giant X in Brazil after the tech billionaire refused to name a legal representative in the country, according to the decision, which is true. The move further escalates the months-long feud between the two men over free speech, far-right accounts, and misinformation. Oh, give me 1 second here. Hold on a second here. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to give you some background on this as well. Okay. This one right here. Again, the move further escalates the months-long feud between the two men over free speech, far-right accounts, and misinformation. This man, Justice Alexander de Moraes, had warned Musk on Wednesday night that X could be blocked in Brazil if Musk failed to comply with his order to name a representative and established a 24-hour deadline. The company has not had a representative in the country since earlier this month. In his decision, the justice gave internet service providers and app stores, 5 days. Okay, so this is interesting. Because in another article, it said that the telecommunications, Reuters said that the telecommunications regulator had to confirm within 24 hours it had implemented the suspension. In this article, it says De Moraes gave internet service providers and app stores 5 days to block access to X. So it's a little confusing to me how long this will take. I don't know how long it will take to block it. He said the platform will remain blocked until it complies with his orders. He also said people or companies who use virtual private networks or VPNs to access X will be subject to daily fines of 50,000 reais, $8,900 US. Will those fines actually be implemented? Is it a threat or will they be carried out? I don't know. The justice wrote, Elon Musk showed his total disrespect for Brazilian sovereignty, and in particular for the judiciary, setting himself up as a true supranational entity and immune to the laws of each country, De Moraes wrote. Brazil is an important market for X, which has struggled with the loss of advertisers since Musk purchased the former Twitter in 2022. Market research group eMarketer says some 40 million Brazilians, roughly 1/5 of the population, access X at least once per month. It is popular in Brazil. Okay, now I had read you this quote before from X on their global government affairs page. I read you this where they said that they're being shut down because they won't comply with the justice's illegal orders to censor his political opponents. They say that their challenges against the judge's illegal actions were either dismissed or ignored. Judge De Moraes' colleagues on the Supreme Court are either unwilling or unable to stand up to him. X has clashed with this Supreme Court Justice, De Moraes, over X's reluctance to comply with orders to block users. That is a big issue here, that Brazil wants X to block certain users and X won't do it. Accounts that the platform previously has shut down on Brazilian orders include lawmakers affiliated with former President Jair Bolsonaro's right-wing party and activists accused of undermining Brazilian democracy. Musk, a self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, has repeatedly claimed the justice's actions amount to censorship, and his argument has been echoed by Brazil's political right wing. Musk has often insulted de Moraes on his platform, characterizing him as a dictator and a tyrant. Defenders of this Brazilian judge have said his actions aimed at X have been lawful, supported by most of the court's full bench, and have served to protect democracy in Brazil at a time in which it is imperiled. The judge's order Friday is based on Brazilian law, requiring foreign companies to have representation in the country so that they can be notified when there are legal cases against them. So there is this dispute between Brazil and X, where Brazil wants, the Supreme Court justice wants certain accounts shut down by X. But the specific reason that the platform was shut down today is that X does not currently have a legal representative in the country. Oh, so look at this. In terms of timing, this is very interesting. This is helpful. Given that operators, internet operators, are aware of the telecommunications operators, given that operators are aware of the widely publicized standoff between Brazil and X and their obligation to comply with an order from de Moraes, plus the fact that doing this is not complicated. It is not complicated for operators to shut off access to X. Given all of this, X could be offline as early as 12 hours after receiving their instructions, said Luca Belli, coordinator of the Technology and Society Center at the Getulio Vargas Foundation, a university in Rio de Janeiro. The shutdown is not unprecedented in Brazil. One of our viewers was talking about other social media platforms in Brazil having stuff happen to them. Lone Brazilian judges shut down Meta's WhatsApp, the nation's most widely used messaging app, several times in 2015 and 2016 due to Meta's refusal to comply with police requests for user data. In 2022, the same judge de Moraes threatened the messaging app Telegram with a nationwide shutdown, arguing it had repeatedly ignored Brazilian authorities' requests to block profiles and provide information. He ordered Telegram to appoint a local representative. The company ultimately complied and stayed online. Also, X and its former incarnation Twitter have been banned in several countries, notably mostly authoritarian regimes such as Russia, China, Iran, Myanmar, North Korea, Venezuela, and Turkmenistan. Other countries such as Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt have also temporarily suspended X before, usually to quell dissent and unrest. Twitter was banned in Egypt after the Arab Spring uprisings, which some dubbed the Twitter Revolution, but it has since been restored. I'll read some more of this to you, but I want to hear some more from you guys. What do you think about all of this? Again, X is now banned, at least temporarily, in Brazil. According to this article, it could be within 12 hours, it could be unusable there. If you try to access it with a VPN, you will be subject to a fine of close to $9,000 per day. So let me take some more comments from you guys. At Lookner on X. And thanks to our member Patches, by the way. Okay. Bipods with tripods thinks this is how democracy dies. I'd like to get you some more specifics on the kind of accounts that Brazil is wanting X to take down. I need to try to find some more information on that. Let's see here. Turned off says rich people can use it, still use it though. Are you saying like rich people could afford the fine? Owen Foley is suggesting maybe people could access it through Starlink. So, I would assume this order provides to any kind of internet provider in Brazil. How they go about shutting it down on various providers. I mean, they'll request it from various providers and various platforms, but I don't, like mobile, desktop, all that stuff. Whether your internet service provider is somebody you get your home internet provider, or you get it on your phone or something. I don't know how they'll go about doing all that, but there's various ways you can get on the internet. So they're going to have to try to shut all those down, shut X down on all of those. And look, it looks like if X does comply and names a legal representative, that they could get it turned back on. I don't know if Elon Musk is going to want to do that at this point. But it said the order will be valid until the appointment of a company representative in the country. So technically speaking, they don't have to agree on everything. This suspension can be over. This is the Supreme Court page. The suspension can be over if Brazil just says, okay, we're going to appoint a legal representative in the country. But it's about bigger things than that. I'm going to take some more comments from you guys. Uber Gringo says there are 3 main providers here in Sao Paulo: Claro, TIM, and Vivo. Earl Sparks says Starlink is directly banned to and from a SpaceX Starlink-owned satellite. It does not use regional internet at all. I don't know. Again, I would have to imagine that Brazil is certainly aware that Starlink operates in Brazil. So, I can't say how they handle this for Starlink customers. That I don't know. But they do say it is banned everywhere in Brazil. Sulan thinks Brazil doesn't care about 3,000 to 5,000 people using Starlink if they get X. Let's see here. Erica says Starlink has been blocked. Is that? I'm not aware of that. In Brazil, I'm not aware of that. I know the Starlink, they had issues with their, if you look here, it says Brazil has frozen Starlink's financial accounts. All right, hang on a moment here. We'll get you some more information. I got to check some of my comments here. I know people are writing to me. Big Time says, our viewer Big Time writes in and says, everyone outside Brazil should use a VPN and have authorities there chasing ghosts. You mean they should use a VPN and act like they're in Brazil? Is that what you mean, Big Time? Oh, our viewer wrote in, hold on a second here. What is this now? Hang on. What is this? Hang on one moment. One of our viewers wrote in with a report. I want to pass this along. Just give me a second here. I know what I need to do. So according to this news account called Choke, what did they say? According to Choke, which is a news account on X, a popular Brazilian news account, they say that X is officially being banned for Oi Fibra customers following the decision. Anatel, the telecommunications company, confirmed that the application will be blocked on other operators, TIM, Vivo, etc., in the next few hours. Hey, I want to show you this again. I'm going to show you guys this, okay? Hang on a second. This is a post from, hang on here. By the way, our viewer Francisco Fernandez sent this to me. Thank you, Francisco. Francisco says, first not-so-small company blocks Twitter in Brazil, X. We have 3 major providers, Claro, the one I use, Vivo, and TIM that are expected to follow soon. So, hold on. I'm going to show you what this post is here. Let me check some Brazilian sources too. This is this account called Choque, which is a popular news account in Brazil, for Brazilian news. They said, and I did a translation of their post. It wasn't in English. It says, Twitter X is officially being banned for Oi Fibra customers following the Supreme Court judge's decision. Anatel, the telecommunications authority, a regulator, confirmed the application will be locked on other operators, TIM, Vivo, etc., in the next few hours. So they posted that about a half hour ago. Oi Fibra is I think it's a Brazilian internet company. Yeah, I just went to the Oi Fibra website. Oi Fibra is a Brazilian internet company. Oi Fibra. If you go to Oi Fibra, if you go to oi.com, you can see their site, but it's an internet provider. So it says it's officially being banned for Oi Fibra customers. Interesting. You know what? I have something else I'm going to check here. Thanks to Francisco for writing in. Hold on a moment here. Let me check some Brazilian sources. Rose Miriam Ferreira says, yes, those are all internet companies. Hang on here. The Brazilian news account called Metropolises says, with the suspension of X in Brazil, users migrate to alternatives such as Threads, Mastodon, and Blue Sky. That's at least what they said. I don't know how many people are going to be switching over even just temporarily. Oh, I have something else. I have another update for you. This is from the Brazilian news site Poder 360. They say large operators have already been notified to remove X. The president of the National Telecommunications Agency, Carlos Bagori, said today that the main telecommunications operators in Brazil, what is it? It's TIM and Vivo and Claro. Vivo, Claro, and TIM, the main telecommunications operators in Brazil, have all already been notified of the Supreme Court's order to take X offline. Poder 360 says in an interview with Globo News, the president of the National Telecommunications Agency said the next step is to communicate the removal of the social network to smaller companies that provide the service. In total, Brazil has more than 20,000 telecommunications operators. So the National Telecommunications Agency is in the process of officially notifying the various telecommunications providers in Brazil that they need to take X offline. Poder 360 also reports, their Brazilian outlet, it is not yet possible to say when X will go offline. Upon being notified by the regulatory agency, companies will begin to block the signal. The removal will not be immediate for all Brazilians. It depends on the agility of each operator in complying with the court decision. So I guess that would be similar to like in the U.S. It'd be like in the U.S., you know, some people get their internet, their home internet from Verizon. Some people get it from, you know, AT&T. Some people get the internet on their phone from T-Mobile, you know. So depending on where you get your internet, you might get X for longer or shorter than somebody else in Brazil until everybody doesn't have it. Interesting. Hey, thanks to Youssef Althawadi for your support. Thank you, Youssef. And also, thanks so much to Vicky Healy. I appreciate that. Vicky says, I'm not a Musk fan at all, but freedom of speech is important. However, at some point, like Telegram, child sexual abuse, hate speech, misinformation, and worse gets out of hand. Thank you so much, Vicky, for your support and for your comment. Sabrina says it sounds very technical. Yeah, they have to, I guess, request it from each provider. You know, this story is the top story on the news site in Brazil, O Globo, which is a popular news site. This is the top story. Interesting. Let me give you some more information about this. Oh, here's something about Starlink. So Starlink has over 250,000 customers in Brazil, by the way. So this is from this article from Associated Press. If you go to the bottom, it says, also on Thursday night, last night, Starlink, Elon Musk's satellite internet service provider, said on X that the same judge this week froze its finances, preventing it from doing any transactions in the country preventing it from doing any transactions in the country where it has more than 250,000 customers. Starlink said this order is based on an unfounded determination that Starlink should be responsible for the fines levied unconstitutionally against X. It was issued in secret and without affording Starlink any of the due process of the law guaranteed by the Constitution of Brazil. We intend to address this matter legally, Starlink said. Musk replied to people sharing reports of the freeze, adding insults directed at the judge, saying, "This guy is an outright criminal of the worst kind masquerading as a judge." Musk later posted on X that SpaceX, which runs Starlink, will provide free internet service in Brazil until the matter is resolved, since we cannot receive payment, but we don't want anyone to be cut off. Marias, the judge, said he ordered the freezing of Starlink's assets in Brazil, saying as X doesn't have enough money in its accounts to cover mounting fines, and reasoning that the two companies are part of the same economic group. Wow. Oh my gosh. All right, so just going over some of these details here. X banned, at least for now, in Brazil. And soon, if you are there, you will not be able to use X. It won't be available to you. Oh, I have an explainer about this too. That could be helpful. Maybe I'm going to take a few comments here, then we'll read this explainer. What is the feud with a Brazilian Supreme Court justice about? Morph Retro on X says, what percentage of Brazil's ad traffic comes from X's ad traffic comes from Brazil? That I don't know. Yes, Fliptrepreneur, I'm aware of the power outage situation in Venezuela. I have been posting about it on my X account. And I will certainly be keeping an eye on it. Thanks so much for your support, Fliptrepreneur. Kippagy says you can't just ban the idea of freedom. Ironclad Ranch and Forge thinks it's a rogue criminal judge. Giuseppe thinks Brazilians will switch to Telegram. The thing is, you can't just switch and follow. I'm sure a lot of Brazilians have a lot of different people they follow, accounts they follow on X. And those accounts won't be on some other platform that they might switch to, a lot of them. Sid thinks this ban will spur homegrown alternatives in Brazil among Brazilians. Again, the issue is, this has happened when people in the US, for example, tried to switch to something else from X. Is you have all these accounts you follow, and if you try to switch to another platform, a lot of those accounts might not be there. We'll give you some more background here. Hold on. For people just joining the stream. Think about that. You're using it in Brazil, and then all of a sudden you can't use it anymore. I'm seeing if Elon Musk had posted anything new in the last few minutes. He has not. You can reach me on X at Lookner. Oops, sorry. Hey, thanks so much to Donna Childers. Jonna thinks there is a war against free speech in the West. Bad days ahead. Thank you so much, Donna, for your support of the channel. And a thank you to our moderators who are here. We have Sarah55 is moderating right now. We have RJ here. We have Linda Belk and Larry on X. We also have... on Facebook, Kay Lowry Body, Ronald Egnor, Margaret Riley, Bud Green, thank you. And also we have on Twitch, Idaho Star, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, LB Prairie Dawn, I Got That Fire, McBritches, and Papa Bear. Thanks also, Gonzalez, for giving out gift subscriptions. That's so nice of you, Gonzalez. Thank you on Twitch. Thanks, Jane and Wheezy, for subscribing on Twitch. Danger Danjo for subscribing on Twitch. Thanks, Big Ball of Yarns, for the bits on Twitch. And Gonzalez, I thank you for the bits, but thank you again for the bits. And thank you, Martin Gingrich, for your support. I think people want some more information about this watching, so let's try to get you some more information. Here's what Reuters has to say. Explainer. It's an explainer. Are you looking for an explanation? Well, we got an explainer article from Reuters for you. Explainer. What is Elon Musk feud with a Brazilian Supreme Court justice about? A Brazilian Supreme Court justice today ordered the country's telecommunications regulator, Anatel, to shut down Elon Musk's social media platform X after the billionaire failed to comply with an order to name a legal representative in Brazil. What is the conflict about? The judge, Alexander de Moraes, and Musk have been in a public feud for months after X failed to comply with legal orders to block certain accounts accused of spreading fake news and hate messages. Okay? So, that's the main bone of contention here. The judge and Musk have been in a public feud for months after X failed to comply with legal orders in Brazil to block certain accounts accused of spreading, quote, fake news and hate messages. X, formerly known as Twitter, claims that the judge threatened to arrest one of the company's legal representatives in Brazil. If it did not comply, Musk's platform had shut down... X, formerly known as Twitter, claims that the judge threatened to arrest one of the company's legal representatives in Brazil if it did not comply. Musk's platform had shut all of its Brazil offices due to what it calls censorship by the judge, though X itself had remained available for users in the country. When will the ban take effect? The judge ordered the social media giant to be taken down immediately in Brazil. Shutting down the messaging platform could take hours or days, as the telephone regulator Anatel has to communicate with telecommunications carriers to drop X traffic. The judge also froze financial assets of Musk's Starlink by issuing an order to block the accounts of the satellite internet network that has rapidly expanded the number of its users in Brazil. The judge's motive was to cover unpaid fines amounting to 18.5 million reais, $3.28 million, that he had previously slapped on X for ignoring judicial orders. Responding to a post that mentioned reports that Starlink accounts had been blocked, Musk called Moraes a dictator on X. Now, I don't know, as I read you, one of the other articles, I think from AP, said around 250,000 people, there are around 250,000 Starlink customers in Brazil. And those are people who get their internet from this company, Starlink, which Elon Musk, I think, owns 40% of, which has satellites. So our viewers had a good question, which is those satellite internet Starlink users in Brazil, will their X get shut down? I mean, I would assume that Starlink might not go along with, if X is supposed to be shut down by every operator that provides internet in Brazil, then won't Starlink need to shut down X in Brazil? And if it doesn't, could that be an issue? And could the judge just say, well, no more Starlink. If you're not going to shut down X, we're gonna say no more Starlink in Brazil. I don't know. I'm just wondering if it could get to that. I'm just wondering. Yeah. Zardoz says, is Starlink going to get cut off in Brazil? Now, none of the articles I've seen has mentioned that, but at the same time, they have hundreds of thousands of users in Brazil. So if Starlink is not going to cut off X in Brazil, I would think that could be an issue for the judge in Brazil. I don't know, though. Let's see here. How will the platform X be shut down? Under Brazilian laws governing the internet, social media must have a representative based in the country. The judge said companies that breach Brazilian law can have their activities temporarily suspended. Regulator Anatel has begun to notify carriers to assume that they drop X. Users could still be able to dodge the blockage by using VPNs, but to avoid that loophole, the judge said that individuals or companies who tried to keep access to X that way could be fined up to $8,900 a day, 50,000 reais. What is the possible impact, says Reuters? X is widely used in Brazil and is an important means of communication, especially for politicians, as a means to put out their views and attack their rivals. The country is about to enter the campaign phase for its local municipal elections in October that will decide the mayors of over 5,500 towns and cities. Right-left divide on the issue. Reactions to the feud between the judge and Musk are divided. Some X users shared Musk's criticism of the judge's decisions, saying he was undermining freedom of speech in Brazil. Others agree with the judge's view that Musk should not be above Brazilian law. Supporters of former hard-right President Jair Bolsonaro see Musk as an ally in their opposition to Moraes' investigations into so-called digital militias that have been accused of spreading fake news and hate messages during Bolsonaro's government, which extended from 2019 to 2022. Wow. So, I would like, I'm not a Brazilian news expert. I would like to know some more maybe about some of these specific accounts that the government wants to get shut down and that Elon Musk has refused to do so. I'll see if I can get you some more information on that. But the platform has been suspended. Hey, thank you so much, PZ Papa Zulu, for the gift membership. So nice of you. I appreciate that. $64K Heyday says you can't block satellite traffic other than literally blocking a view of the sky. I would think that Starlink, in theory, I don't know this for a fact, but I would think that Starlink given that it's providing internet in various countries, would have some sort of procedure for controlling what people can get in various countries, because it's a common thing for different countries to have different internet regulations. So I might be wrong about this. I would be surprised. I mean, just as a total amateur in this, I would be surprised if Starlink didn't have the ability to control, control certain things happening in certain countries, certain access to things in certain countries. I mean, they would certainly be aware of where users were getting their signal. So, you know, as I said, the issue here is that Starlink, which Elon Musk runs, I believe, they serve over 250,000 customers in Brazil. So in theory, they would have to shut off X too. But I don't know exactly how Starlink works. But I would be surprised if they weren't able to, you know, have different setups, have different settings in different countries. But I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. I'd like to know more about that. Saul Vlog thinks the judge, Alexander de Moraes, is asserting national sovereignty. Bill Fisher, our viewer, thinks that Starlink would have the ability to shut off X in Brazil if they choose to comply. I am not personally sure about this. David's project says Starlink is not a telecom company. Well, it does. It's an internet provider. I don't know if maybe it works differently than other internet providers do. I'm not sure about that. But anyways, maybe I can find something more about that. Oh, so, you know, in Shark Tale says Starlink can turn on and off in different countries. But we're not talking about turning like the whole thing off. We're talking about like Starlink making X not visible to users in Brazil. Let's see here. Moose's Backyard thinks that among Brazilians, banning X is dividing opinions. Now, I don't know where Moose's X is getting their source from, getting their information from. Moose's Backyard thinks that most Brazilians think trying to control access through VPN is too much. Again, I don't know where Moose's Backyard is getting this information from. Moose's Backyard also thinks that Musk has been a disaster for Twitter and everyone should migrate to Mastodon. That's our viewer, Moose's Backyard. All right, let's check this out. So the New York Times called it a highly unusual move. This additional part of this, where not only is X banned in Brazil, but the judge said that if you try to use a VPN to access, a VPN can disguise where you're using the internet from, as I understand it, right? Isn't it true that a VPN can make it look like you're using the internet in a different country than you're actually using it in. Isn't that the case? Can someone, I don't use one myself, but if somebody can confirm that for me. I believe I've read that many, many times. I don't want to give out false information. So, sometimes people try to use VPNs to access stuff that they can't access in their home country. And all these people are saying yes in the chat. So, right, there's a Microsoft site I'm reading, Microsoft Azure, that says a VPN masks people, can protect its users by masking their IP addresses, can hide their location. So, what the New York Times says, the fact that this judge has not just blocked X, but said if you use a VPN to try to evade the ban. So the idea would be that if you're in Brazil, you might use a VPN to make it look like you're accessing the internet not from Brazil, and that way get X. If you try to do that in Brazil, you are subject to a fine of up to roughly $8,900 US a day. And the New York Times says that is a highly unusual move for this to fine people to evade, who are trying to evade the ban by using a VPN. Also, the New York Times said it was also another unusual move for the judge to have frozen the bank accounts of Starlink. So the judge has levied millions of dollars of fines against X, about $3 million in fine, which X hasn't paid. And Starlink is become pretty popular in Brazil, over 250,000 customers. And I guess from what I understand, the judge has basically said something to the effect of like that Starlink and X are all part of like the same general operation. So he has frozen the bank accounts of Starlink in Brazil because he hasn't been able to collect the fine money from X. If that makes sense. And the Times said that was an unusual move. Didn't it say it here, the Starlink thing here? Starlink, right here. Right. Reuters, the judge froze financial assets of Musk Starlink by issuing an order to block the accounts of the satellite internet network that has rapidly expanded the number of its users in Brazil. The judge's motive for doing this was to cover unpaid fines of around $3 million that he had previously slapped on X for ignoring judicial orders. Let's see here. Also, the New York Times, like some of the other articles we've read, said that the judge and Elon Musk have been involved for months in this dispute, and the Times says that the judge believes that Musk is illegally obstructing the Brazilian authorities' attempt to clean up the Brazilian internet, whereas Musk says the judge is illegally censoring conservative voices. I wish I could, hold on a second here. Ooh, hold on a second here. Hold on a second here. You know what I can do? You know what I can do? Hold on a moment. Hold on a moment. I have the ruling, but it's in Portuguese. I was trying to do a translation of the ruling. But it's a PDF file. But I think I figured out how to translate it. Hang on a second here. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did the file go? I just downloaded the file. Hang on, guys. Here it is. I think it's working. Open translation. Oh, it worked. So I used Google Translate to translate the decision. The decision is 50 pages long, by the way. Okay? So I don't know if I can find... I'm not going to read the whole thing. There's a whole thing here. Disregard for court orders. The illicit conduct of Elon Musk and ex-Brazil as they fail to comply with all court orders has resulted in fines. Okay. I'm just kind of skimming through here. Yeah, so it talks here about like, even when summoned to comply with Brazilian orders to block profiles on X, whose posts reproduce criminal content investigated in the proceedings, X incurred in judicial disobedience and decided to publish a message inciting hatred against this. And they actually quote one of Elon Musk's posts on X. Here it says, this is from this ruling today from the judge. It says, Elon Musk confuses freedom of expression with a non-existent freedom of aggression, deliberately confuses censorship with the constitutional prohibition of hate speech and inciting to anti-democratic acts, ignoring the teachings of one of the greatest liberals in defense of freedom of expression in history, John Stuart Mill. In this way, he says, the abuse in the exercise of freedom of expression for the practice of illegal conduct will always allow civil and criminal liability. I was just trying to skim through here, and I'm not going to read all 50 pages of this. But anyways, that's a little bit of a summary of a disagreement. That the judge thinks that where is it here? I just read it. Now I can't find it. Yes, the judge thinks that Elon Musk is confusing freedom of expression with a non-existent freedom of aggression. Deliberately confuses censorship with the constitutional prohibition of hate speech and incitement to anti-democratic acts. Yes, and as high as Tasca says, this is the ruling here. All right. Also, the New York Times says that the New York Times says that Musk is trying to turn X into a safe haven for people to say anything they want, even if it hurts the business in the process. It also says that Musk, since April, in dozens of posts, has built up Justice Marias as one of the world's biggest enemies of free speech. And the New York Times says it appears that Musk is betting that the judge will cave into the public backlash that he believes blocking X will cause. But the Times believes the longer the ban on X lasts, the more it will test Musk's commitment to his ideology at the expense of revenue, market share, and influence. Interesting. The Times reports that the judge has ordered X to remove at least 140 accounts, most of them right-wing, including some of Brazil's most prominent conservative pundits and members of Congress. The Times also says the judge is a hero of Brazil's left and the #1 enemy of Brazil's right. The judge is one of the Brazil's most powerful and polarizing figures. After the Supreme Court gave him expansive powers to crack down on threats to democracy online, amid fears of a far-right movement led by Jair Bolsonaro, Brazil's former president. Interesting. Was just trying to give you some of the context of all of this. You know, the Economist has an article about this too, which I'm going to look at because they probably have some good background on this. So again, just to summarize here what we have been talking about. Oh, by the way, thanks to Ian for your support. I appreciate it. Just to summarize what we've been talking about. X has been ordered banned in Brazil, at least temporarily. Now, the technical cause for the ban is that X does not have a legal representative in the country right now. But the larger context for this is that there's been a feud going on between this Supreme Court judge in Brazil and X for months because the judge has wanted X to remove a number of accounts from the platform. And X has refused to do that. Elon Musk has refused to do it. So it has come to this, basically. Oh, I have some more stuff here as well. More background here. By the way, people have asked like how big is X in Brazil? So this is from this article from AP, how one Brazilian judge could suspend Elon Musk X, which has now happened. But it says right here, Brazil is a key market for X and other platforms. Some 40 million Brazilians, roughly 1/5 of the population, access X at least once per month. Musk, a self-described free speech absolutist, has claimed that the judge's actions amount to censorship and rallied support from Brazil's political right. He has also said he wants his platform to be a global town square where information flows freely. The loss of the Brazilian market, the world's fourth largest democracy, would make achieving this goal more difficult. Brazil is also a potentially huge growth market for Musk's satellite company Starlink, given its vast territory and spotty internet service in far-flung areas. Yesterday, Starlink said on X that the judge had frozen its finances, preventing it from doing any transactions in the country where it has more than 250,000 customers. Crazy. Uber Gringo says 1/3 of us use X in Brazil. I'll look at that Economist article in a second to see what they have as background here. But let me take a few more comments from you guys. There's a lot to this story, a lot of details here. So I'd like to get into it and give you guys some background on this. XCat says if they do it to X, do you mean Starlink is next on the hit list? And to repeat, I'm not sure if there's going to be an issue where will Starlink be told you can't have your users in Brazil access X, and will Starlink not go along with that? And could that lead to this Starlink getting shut down in Brazil? Or could this otherwise impact? I mean, right now, Starlink can't conduct financial transactions with their customers in Brazil. I believe Elon Musk has said that for the moment, Starlink is going to be free in Brazil. Am I correct about this? Trying to find that here. Where did I read that? I can't remember. I really think I did. Yes, Musk said this. Look, I have it right here. SpaceX will provide internet service to users in Brazil for free until this matter is resolved, as we cannot receive payment but don't want to cut anyone off. He said many remote schools and hospitals depend on SpaceX's Starlink. Again, you can reach me on X at Lookner. I haven't heard, some of our viewers said they could still use, I haven't heard reports it's been widely actually shut down yet. It can take hours or even days. Well, I got some messages here some viewers sent in that I want to say. Our viewer Elon Tan says, I'm guessing anonymous Brazilian users won't get affected if the Brazilian government doesn't know who they are. But if famous Brazilian users are active on Twitter, then the fact they're active is self-evident that they're bypassing the block somehow. So I guess what Elon Tan thinks is Elon Tan thinks that maybe regular people will not have the fine imposed on them. As we mentioned, if you try to get around this ban by using a VPN, you're subject to a fine of up to roughly $9,000 US a day. I don't know if anybody's actually going to be charged that fine. What our viewer Elonton thinks is maybe if somebody prominent is using X, they might get, levied the fine on them. I don't know. Our viewer Oregon guy says, Oi Fibra seems to work fine on my NordVPN connected to a Rio server. So one of our viewers, Oregon guy, said he used his internet to his VPN to make it look like he was in Brazil and could still access X as of like 40 minutes ago. Checking some of the other comments people had sent me. I'm going to check this Economist article to see what they have to say. The Economist normally has good summaries of what's going on, some background. They wrote an article about this back in April. Back in April, this feud has been going on so long. The Economist had an article. Elon Musk is feuding with Brazil's powerful Supreme Court. They had an article about this in April. So The Economist says that on April 6th, X said that a Brazilian court had ordered it to block an undisclosed set of popular accounts in Brazil. Instead, though, Musk said he would lift restrictions on previously suspended Brazilian accounts and threatened to close down X in Brazil. And then the judge, Marias, said he opened an inquiry into Musk for obstruction of justice. That was back in April. So this is a Supreme Court judge who's ordered this, who's ordered X to be banned, at least temporarily. One thing that The Economist says is that Brazil's Supreme Court is very powerful. It enjoys outsized authority in the lives of Brazilians. Also, there's an ongoing debate of how to regulate social media without hurting freedom of speech. And so far in Brazil, Brazil's Supreme Court has been the one who is regulating social media. Oh, interesting. So The Economist also says that Brazil's Supreme Court is very busy, has a lot of things they rule on. And to deal with their workload, they allow individual judges to rule on cases. Very interesting. Okay. This has led to accusations that unelected judges have too much power. Hey, so this is some interesting background here. This is from this Economist article. Let me give you a little background about the situation in Brazil. This is interesting. So, according to The Economist, in, was it 2016? No, sorry. In 2019, Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right populist, became president of Brazil. He was not a fan of the Supreme Court. After he took office, threats to the court's justices and their families increased dramatically. In response, the Supreme Court launched a probe into fake news and that probe was led by this Judge Marias, who is the one who's ordered the banning of X. Okay, and hold on a second here. Where is it here? I had the wrong thing up here. Here, there he is. So again, Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right populist, became president in 2019. He did not like the Supreme Court. Threats to the court's justices and their families increased dramatically when he became president. The Economist says, in response, the Supreme Court launched a probe into fake news led by this judge. And the Supreme Court gave itself the power to investigate threats and defamatory statements made against the Supreme Court online. The court became victim, prosecutor, and arbiter all at once. The judge used this power to order social networks to take down the accounts of politicians and influencers, saying that they threatened Brazil's institutions. In February of 2021, the judge ordered the arrest of a far-right congressman, Daniel Silveira, who had uploaded an expletive-laden rant about the court's members to YouTube. Such decisions are almost impossible to appeal. In 2022, Bolsonaro pardoned that far-right congressman who had been arrested and sentenced. But the pardon was later overturned by the Supreme Court, and that far-right congressman is still detained. Then in the build-up to the presidential election of 2022, which Bolsonaro lost, Bolsonaro spread lies about voting machines being rigged against him. The judge, who was also president of the Electoral Tribunal, expanded his crusade. In August of 2022, he authorized police to raid the homes of 8 businessmen, froze their bank accounts, and ordered social networks to suspend some of their accounts. This was prompted by WhatsApp messages from the 2 men, which had been made public and which appeared to express support for a coup. Critics call the judge's tactics heavy-handed and opaque, meaning you can't really, hard to understand, or not transparent. It is unclear how many X accounts have been suspended by him and for how long. Yet many Brazilians believe that these unorthodox tactics were justified at the time. Fired up by Bolsonaro's baseless claims of fraud, his supporters camped outside of military barracks in the capital for 2 months before the election, urging the army to stage a coup. Then, a week after Lula was inaugurated in Brazil in 2023, after Bolsonaro lost the election, zealot supporters of Bolsonaro stormed Congress, the presidential palace, and the Supreme Court. And Bolsonaro did not concede defeat in the election and continued to question it. So, some of the, just to, without getting into too much more detail here, Brazil is a country where many have perceived a threat to democracy, and that threat can sometimes involve, say, misinformation, and calling for coups and stuff like that. And so what the article from The Economist is saying, if I'm understanding it right, is that the Supreme Court is powerful in Brazil, and this person on the Supreme Court, Judge Marias, has been overseeing this effort to police social media, and in the name of protecting the country's democracy, for example, banning certain accounts on social media. And some people think that his efforts are overdone and excessive, whereas other people think his efforts are justified by the extreme threat posed in the country to democracy, if that's a little summary. So that's the background here, where you have in recent months, this judge has asked X to take down various accounts. I believe a lot of them, if not all of them, are associated with the political right in Brazil, and Elon Musk does not want to do that. So that's some background here, okay? But I guess what happened recently, if I'm getting this right, is that according to X, they thought that their representative of the country could get arrested if they didn't comply with these requests. So they pulled the representative out of the country, but now they don't have a legal representative in the country. And today, the judge said, well, you have to have a legal representative in the country or you can't operate it here. Since you don't have a legal representative in the country, you're banned until you do have a legal representative in the country. I think didn't they say that about the legal representative here? Let's see right here. Yes, X said yesterday, they said when we attempted to defend ourselves, and they said we expect the judge will order X to be shut down simply because we would not comply with his illegal orders to censor his political opponents. Skipping ahead, they said when we attempted to defend ourselves at his court, the judge threatened our Brazilian legal representative with imprisonment. Even after she resigned, he froze all of her bank accounts, which makes it sound like that's why they don't want to have a legal representative in the country. I don't know if maybe they didn't pull her out of the country. Maybe they just said that they're not going to have a legal representative in the country anymore. But you see some background there. Anyways, so I'm just trying to give you a feeling. It's a complex issue with a lot of details here that I'm not even getting to. But I'm just trying to give you a feeling of what the general issue is about, because I think it's interesting and I think it's important to understand you see a headline, Brazil shuts down X, and then you see people saying 2 or 3 line catchphrases on either side. And I don't think that gives you a good understanding of what's really at issue here. So I've been trying to just give you some background on that. All right, I'll take a few more comments here. But just so you know, I don't know, it's not known how long is this ban going to go on for. If Elon Musk wanted to, he could just say, okay, let's have a legal representative in the country again, and then the ban goes away. I mean, the issues are still there. A lot of the issues are still there, but then the ban goes away. But does Elon Musk feel like he wants to make a stand right here? It seems like he does. How long will he allow this to go on for? Is Elon Musk just fed up with Brazil and is just going to be like, nope, we're done with Brazil at the expense of, but it's an important market for the company. I can't tell you. Maybe in a day it'll be done, the ban. Or maybe it'll go on for weeks or months. Beats me. All right, we'll take a few more comments here. Hey, by the way, thanks to Catch22 for the gift memberships. That's really nice of you, Catch22. Thank you. Marcelo Pinto Zamboni thinks the court is supreme dictator in Brazil. Motown thinks X is evolving into something horrible. Oh, Isaac Matter is here. Isaac Mater. Isaac Mater from NetBlocks is in the chat. Hey, that's really neat. Isaac Mater, if I'm pronouncing that right, says Twitter X is still accessible in Brazil across all ISPs at the moment. Will publish a report when the restriction occurs. Hey, I was thinking about NetBlocks today. I think I actually checked NetBlocks earlier to see if they had posted anything about this yet. I think, although I was checking them about Venezuela too. I follow NetBlocks. They report about internet disruptions and internet getting shut down and stuff. If you've watched me before, you've probably seen me quote NetBlocks on the air. And then Isaac, which I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, is with NetBlocks. Right here. There you go. Director of Research NetBlocks. Isaac in the chat. Thanks for stopping in with the update. That's cool. I'm glad I caught that. Smiley says, Brazilian here, Twitter is still up. Twitter X. Thanks, Dothis, for your comment. The headline on Wall Street Journal right now is Brazil bans X, outlawing access to app for millions. And they say the official ban caps months of back and forth between Musk and Brazil, which started in April when one of the Supreme Court justices, Alexander de Moraes, ordered X to take down several accounts deemed to be spreading hate speech and misinformation. De Moraes, the judge, wrote in the ruling today that X has turned Brazilian social media networks into a place of total impunity, a lawless land. That's what the judge said. The Supreme Court accused X of repeatedly violating court orders and helping to spread racist and fascist hate speech. X closed operations in Brazil earlier this month, citing the need to protect the safety of its staff. Something else the Wall Street Journal says is that Musk, who has built a reputation as a free speech enthusiast, initially did not go along with the court's request to take down X accounts in April. And a number of people in Brazil's political right have sided with Musk, accusing the court and the country's leftist government of trying to silence conservatives ahead of the October elections. Then it says here Musk softened his stance. I don't know if he ended up banning some of the accounts or not. Rodrigo says no VPN. If you use a VPN, you are subject to access X. During the ban, you're subject to a fine of roughly $9,000 a day. Let me just see if I have anything else I want to mention on this. It's a very interesting story. We'll have to see how. I mean, again, I have not heard of anybody saying it's not working there yet. So the impact hasn't really been felt yet. The AP updated their article. I just want to show you this here. In his decision today, the judge cited Musk's statements as evidence that X's conduct clearly intends to continue to encourage posts with extremism, hate speech, and anti-democratic discourse, and to try to withdraw them from jurisdictional control. Musk has repeatedly, self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, has repeatedly claimed the justice's actions amount to censorship, and his argument has been echoed by Brazil's political right. He has often insulted the judge on his platform, characterizing him as a dictator and a tyrant. The judge's defenders have said the judge's actions aimed at X have been lawful, supported by most of the court's full bench, and have served to protect democracy at a time when it is imperiled. A search today on X showed hundreds of Brazilian users inquiring about VPNs that could potentially enable them to continue using the platform by making it appear they were now logging in from outside the country. It was not immediately clear how Brazilian authorities would police this practice and impose fines, cited by Morales. Oh, here's something. This is from an expert here. Felipe Medon, a specialist in digital law and a professor at the law school of the Getulio Vargas Foundation in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, said, "This is an unusual measure, but its main objective is to ensure that the court order to suspend the platform's operation is in fact effective." He's talking about the fines on people who use VPNs. As a general rule, there are no provisions in Brazilian law that prevent users from using VPNs, since they are not the subjects of the blocking and suspension orders, but rather the companies. So will they enforce those fines on people using VPNs? I just do not know. But it's not just VPNs. The actual court announcement said that use of any technological subterfuge, meaning deception. This is the English translation of a press release by the court about it. But they say at the bottom here, I'll show you. Hold on. Look at the last part here. The decision also sets a daily fine for people and companies that use technological subterfuge to maintain the use of X without prejudice to other civil and criminal sanctions. Emperor Doge thinks they will ban it in the US in a few years. Too much information in real time is shared on there. Does the law apply to tourists and Americans while in Brazil, says Tough Guy Walkman? I would assume so, because my understanding is that it's the law is not about where you're a citizen of, it's about in a certain territory. That's my understanding, is that it's within the country, geographically speaking. That's my understanding. But I haven't confirmed that. All right. Well, hold on a second here. Our viewer Moose's Backyard thinks Musk is hypocritical because he promotes absolute freedom of speech while keeping ties with dictatorships. That's what Moose's Backyard thinks. It'll be interesting when it actually stops working in Brazil, I guess in hours or days, maybe hours, to see what how people react. You know, this is a really big story. I just checked a couple big, in O Globo, which is a big news site in Brazil. It's the top story. I just checked the newspaper Folha de Sao Paulo, which is a big Brazilian paper. It's the top story in the paper. It's the top headline. It's right there. It says the social network is expected to go offline during the country's election period. Folha, the newspaper, says that The country's main internet operators, Claro, Oi, and Vivo, have already been notified, and they represent about 40% of the internet traffic, if I have that right. Oops. Hang on a second here. And I've read multiple articles saying there are over 20,000 broadband providers in Brazil. Also, Google and Apple are being told to ban the X app from their store, the Apple store, the iOS store, and the Google store, and the Android store. All right, so we'll have to see what happens in Brazil. All right, I could talk about this for hours, but I think we've covered the basics. I think we've covered the basics. Melissa Terry says this is big. Yes, Robert Kennedy said local internet providers are starting to be told to shut down XN. Yes, they have to officially notify all the various providers to shut it down. And then they're given a certain amount of time to shut it down once they're told. What is this? Hold on a second here. Hang on one second here. All right, guys, I think we've reached this time. Will there be protest, says Danny G. I don't know. I mean, I assume there's going to be a lot of people who are upset. I don't know how upset people are. I don't know if there'll be protests, but I don't live there, so I mean, imagine in another country if you were a big user and the government shut it down. It might be a big deal for you. Some places might use it a lot for their work, too. Thanks to Namaxwe for subscribing on Twitch, by the way. And Gonzalez for another gift sub. Thank you. All right, guys, look. I wanted to cover this. It's a really interesting topic. I feel like we've just scratched the surface, even though some of you might feel this was way too long. I feel like we might have just scratched the surface. So I was just trying to give you a basic intro here. But I'm certainly going to be keeping an eye on this story. And we'll see, tomorrow it could be fine. Tomorrow they could reach some agreement and it's not shut down anymore. Or maybe we'll be here a month from now and it'll still be shut down. I honestly have no idea. Will Musk give in or not? How will Elon Musk approach this? I can't tell you. So, but in the coming hours, it's supposed to start getting shut off. Hold on. I haven't seen this. One of our viewers, I am Leobin, said that the judge went back on his decision about the VPNs. I haven't seen that reported anywhere. I mean, I was just checking some Brazilian sources. Oh, it just came out. I just saw it right now. Globo News says the judge backed down from his decision to block VPN applications to hinder access to X. Interesting. I just saw it right now. That's what Globo News says. If I'm reading this right. Well, a lot of people might not bother. If it was like the US, a lot of people would just not bother to get a VPN or wouldn't know how to use a VPN. I don't know if everybody uses them in Brazil. Yeah, so again, Globo News just posted something right around now that said the judge backed down from his decision that had blocked downloads of VPN applications to hinder access to X. I don't have the specific details on that, but that is an interesting report. Apollo says, seems like they don't know what they want to do. I'll see if I can get you any last minute updates on that, because that is quite interesting. Thanks to the viewer for mentioning it. Yes, the judge retreats from decision that blocked downloads of VPN applications, says O Globo. Hang on a moment. Oh, part of it's part of the ruling? What does it say here? Okay, so the specific part of the ruling that the judge backed down on, according to O Globo, is that the judge had said that stores like virtual stores like the Apple Store and Google Store would block the download of VPN apps. But he reversed that to order potentially unnecessary and reversible disruptions to third-party companies. So it doesn't look like, from what I'm seeing here, it doesn't look like the judge said, the judge did not back down on imposing fines on people who use VPNs to access Twitter during the ban. That was not backed down on. I guess part of the initial ruling said, like, you're not going to be allowed to download a VPN newly because we don't want people to do that just to get around the ban. But he went back on that. So you're still going to be able to download a VPN from like the iOS store or the Android store. But technically, as far as I can tell, you're still not allowed to use that VPN to access X. So I've seen two different Brazilian outlets say that that's what the judge said. So the judge has not said, oh, you can use, it's fine to use a VPN to access X. It's about this specific thing where I guess the judge was going to make it hard for people to just download a VPN. Okay? So just to be clear, just to clear that up. Anyways. We're getting very into Brazilian news here on this stream. You're getting updates on Brazilian, and again, I don't know if that fine's going to be enforced or what the deal is with that. Anyways, hey, thanks Zivlap for your support. All right, on that note, we're going to start wrapping up this live stream. But I very much appreciate you joining the stream and being here. Oh, X posted, by the way, X posted and said, power to the people in Brazil and everywhere else. And then Elon Musk reposted it. That was like an hour ago. Elon Musk also, a little while ago, reposted a post talking about, claiming from Ashley St. Clair that said the average income in Brazil is around $1,400 a month US, and Brazilian citizens face fines of roughly $8,800 US a day to X if they're trying to evade the ban and access X. Anyways, hey, appreciate you joining our stream on Brazil temporarily banning X. We don't know how long it's going to be going on for. And I appreciate you being here. We cover all kinds of live breaking news. Agenda Free TV. Subscribe, follow Agenda Free TV, and turn notifications on, because I don't know when we're going live. It's whenever like big news happens. And we actually have a notification system that you can sign up for. It's free, and you sign up once, and then you get sent a notification every single time we go live. It works really well. We do that through Discord. The mods will post the link to the notifications in the chat right now. But if you're not signed up for notifications, sign up for them so you know when we're going live. You can find the notifications link also in the Facebook and YouTube descriptions for this broadcast. So anyways, we took, it's funny because I think you could look at this stream and say we took a deep dive on this topic because we were on for a while. At the same time, I don't think our dive was that deep. I think you could go way deeper with this topic. I'm not going to. But we just like scratched the surface. Like we didn't really get into like what are the specific accounts in Brazil that the government wanted banned, the judge wanted banned, and what exactly did they post? But then that requires a lot more research and a lot more time and everything. And at this point, I'm not. It's really interesting, but at this point, I'm going to wrap this up right here. But try to go a little deeper. Oh, thank you, Mr. Blanksalot. That is so nice of you, Mr. Blanksalot. Thanks for your support. I appreciate that. Anyways, but I will post on X when I have updates for you on this. At Lookner, you can follow me there. If you're in Brazil, you might not be able to see my account. But it's at Lookner on X. I will post a link to this. That's where I post breaking news when I'm not live. I will post a link to that in the chat. And look, and this could happen in other countries. You can imagine in the US or some other country, there being some situation where the government wants, there's an account doing something on X, right? Or some other platform. But let's take just as an example. You can imagine a situation in another country where an account is doing something that they think should not be allowed on the platform, and Elon Musk maybe doesn't agree with them. And so this could happen in theory in another country. You know, I don't know. So we'll have to see. And on other platforms, look, we just did a stream on this. The founder and CEO of Telegram, Pavel Durov, has been arrested and charged with preliminary crimes in France. The French government says that Durov, the head of Telegram, has been complicit in allowing his platform to exist in a way that he is complicit in operating a platform that allows, say, the authorities, illegal activity like passing of child sex abuse materials and drug transactions, and he is preliminarily charged with crimes in France. He's not allowed to leave France now. He's out on bail, not allowed to leave France. And they're saying that he's responsible for it. So, but again, this is it's a related story in that it's about stuff that happens on an online platform. And you know, in that case, you have the head of the platform being held criminally responsible by a country. In this case that we've been talking about today, you have a country saying like, we don't want these accounts on the platform. If you allow them on your platform, we're going to ban, you know, that's going to be a problem. Now today, the ban isn't specifically about that. The ban today is about X not having a legal representative in Brazil, but it comes out of that whole dispute of over whether X is going to ban accounts that the Brazilian government wants them to. So we have these two news stories about these conflicts between a government and a major social media platform in just a few days here. Anyways. Oh, thanks for your kind words, Johnny McGrath. I appreciate that. So, hey, big thanks to our moderators for being here today. Really, really appreciate our moderators. We have Sarah55 on YouTube, RJ, Sabrina, and all of our other YouTube moderators. Really appreciate you. Linda Belk and Larry on X. Over on Twitch, our moderators like... we've had a bunch of them there. A Moment of Lovely, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, Papa Bear, and Sharon C54. And all of our other Twitch moderators. And our Facebook moderators, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Ronald Egnor. Did I miss any others? I hope not. But thanks to all of our Facebook mods, too. Thanks to everybody who donated. That is so nice of you guys. I really appreciate it. Your support is what allows me to have this channel, for the channel to be on the air. And so I really appreciate that. It's really nice of you. If you ever want to donate, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. If there's huge news tonight and some other about some other thing, we'll come on the air and cover it. And what else did I want to mention? I do have a personal channel where sometimes I do non-news live streaming. Haven't been over there in a while because it's been so busy with the news, but I anticipate getting back over there soon. If you want to check that out, that is called Lookner, Lookner on YouTube, and Look Nerd with a D, Look Nerd on Twitch. You can check that out if you like. And if you watch on YouTube and you subscribe over there, make sure, if you want to get the YouTube notifications, which I would recommend, you got to do this thing. Click on that bell and choose all notifications on YouTube. Let me also thank our... thanks Paul Tissue for the gift membership. Very nice of you, Paul Tissue. Thank you. Thanks to our Facebook subscribers over there for supporting the channel. Eve Richards, Lou Green, Robert Rial II, Jane Summers, Diane Allworth, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Ronald Egnor, all of our Facebook subscribers. Thank you. And our other subscribers there. Our Twitch subscribers like Wall Street and Shaggy, A Moment of Lovely. And Relila and Fweeky Beats. Thanks for subscribing. And Namaxwe and Gonzalez and Danger Danjo and Jane and Wheezy. Thank you, Twitch subscribers. Shout out to you. Thanks to James54 for your kind words. Also, our YouTube members like Chaz and Barry, PZ Papa Zulu, Serenity, Jesse's Girl, UV Lightning, Xenon, Mythical, Randy J, Brenton Eslick, Aleppo Gambit, Danny G, Marissa Pugliese, Queen of the South, Turnt Off, Chaz, Serenity, thanks for being YouTube members, Evelyn in Maine, Ronan, Apollo, Waltham, Sylvia S, and all of our other YouTube members. Thank you. Oh, and thank you so much, Drewski96. What about the Gaudreau brothers dying in a car crash? I actually posted about that on my X account earlier today. That was a very sad story. The Columbus Blue Jackets player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother were killed. They were riding bicycles. They were killed after allegedly being struck by a drug driver. I had posted about that on my X account, so that was very sad. We're not going to be doing a whole stream on that, but that was a very sad story, and I did post about it. So certainly condolences to their families. It's really terrible. Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. Johnny was 31 and his brother was 29. Thank you, Drewski, for mentioning that. Okay, so I am going to wrap up this live stream. And if there's big news tonight, we'll cover it. Okay? As usual, that's the way we do things here. Oh, hey, I have an update for you. One last thing. Linda Yaccarino from Twitch, from X posted. Isn't she like one of this? I don't know what their structure is over there. She might be technically CEO, even though, you know, Elon, I think, really runs things there. She is the CEO of X. Okay, so she just posted. Let me finish up with this. Linda Yaccarino from X just posted. She said, "This is a sad day for X users around the world, especially those in Brazil who are being denied access to our platform. I wish it did not have to come to this. It breaks my heart. The Brazilian constitution says any and all censorship of a political, ideological, and artistic nature is forbidden." Now, to be clear, I don't know how that's interpreted in Brazilian law. Perhaps Brazilian law allows for certain kinds of speech to be regulated, and it's not and that does not count as constitutional censorship. So just to be clear. Anyways, she says, "I hope for a day when the Brazilian government will live up to its constitution that the Brazilian people ratified. But until there is change in Brazil, X will be shut down. We hope to be back soon." But she says, "We hope to be back soon." How long will this play out for? I don't know. That doesn't really tell you right there. Could be a while. Maybe it'll be shorter. Maybe it'll take a long time. I don't know. Why are they banning it? You got to go back and watch the stream. Go back and watch the stream. We just did a whole stream on it. Okay. Wrapping up this stream now. Thank you again for watching. Again, if there's big news tonight, we'll come back on and cover it. And thank you to all of our other people, everybody else watching as well. Mr. Bigley Hugie, Audrey Burbank, Beth Shepard, Megatron, and everybody else. All right, guys, that is it for now. You've been watching our coverage of Brazil banning X, at least temporarily. We'll see. How long does it? Well, in the coming hours, it's expected to stop working in Brazil. And how long will it be down for? We'll just have to see. All right, guys, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.